Good evening, fellow photographers. Welcome to tonight's live chat. You want to hear something kind of funny? I've got today's image pulled up, and I think that a lot of people are under the misconception that when a photo like this is captured, everybody just goes into their places and strikes their poses, and you take the picture. And that's it. Everything's done. Everything's perfect. Maybe 2-3 minutes, 5 at the most. Maybe take a couple extra photos just in case. You would be very, very, very wrong. I think we were out here shooting for, 30 minutes at least, maybe 45. I don't know. It probably just felt longer than it actually was. Because when you're trying to get little people to cooperate and get in the same spot and stay in that spot and stay in that pose and position for more than a fraction of a millisecond, things just start happening. And it doesn't help that I have to be in the photo myself, in case you were wondering. This is my family. This is our family portrait. And it's overdue. And it's overdue because I have been neglecting it intentionally because it's hard. It is very, 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 very hard to get a picture of my own family. All of us in one picture at the same time. Whew. It's a little easier if I'm behind the camera and I can kind of see what's going on and direct people and take, a bunch of photos and we can work with this. But when I can't see what's going on, I can't tell if everyone's actually still looking at the camera. I can't tell if anybody's sticking their tongues out or crossing their eyes or whatever. But photographers' kids are some of the worst when it comes to trying to get them to cooperate to take photos. So in case you feel bad about, maybe it's only my kids. Nope. And I always get that when I'm out on a photo shoot and, a kid starts even remotely acting up and the parent just comes unglued. Oh my gosh, why? He never acts like this. I don't know what's going on. Like, chill, he's fine. He's a kid. He's supposed to act like that. That's what kids do. But tonight's stream is somewhat themed. It's going to be more or less, I just want to show you guys how I do a pretty basic, simple head swap. Because what's funny is this isn't actually the photo I'm going to use. It's actually this one. Because everybody in this photo, except for one person, actually looks decent. And guess who that one person is? Yep. It's me. I was looking down and trying to make sure and direct everybody, and I looked up and it caught me just as I was trying to transition from crazy dad to happy dad. Happy, picture perfect dad. So mine is the head that needs to be swapped. So we're going to take this happy dad to crazy dad. We're going to take crazy dad away, add him with happy dad. And notice we're in Photoshop. We're going to jump straight to Photoshop because, we went through Lightroom last night and you guys, I think, got the gist of it. I just kind of do basic exposure and color corrections and then, composition and then jump into Photoshop to do any kind of major work. And we're getting to a point where a lot of what you could do could be done in Lightroom. In fact, or if you only wanted one program, you could even get away with only Photoshop because you have Adobe Camera Raw, which is essentially Lightroom in Photoshop. So you could pick one or the other. Most people actually prefer Lightroom because I think because Adobe Photoshop is very intimidating. And it doesn't need to be, but it is. And it's because there's a billion settings and tools and all that. But if you break it down to its simplest elements, it's actually quite simple. So I've got my handy dandy Wacom tablet and a mouse And you don't have to have the tablet. You can do it with a mouse. I did it for years and years and years, and then I switched to my tablet, and now there's like no going back. It's so much easier with a tablet. It's so natural. So what I'm going to do first is I've got the selection tool over here, and I've actually got my monitor is hidden. I got to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. I've got 3 different monitors here in case you didn't know. And by the way, I think we've got Instagram tonight. I've been having issues with Instagram trying to stream there last night. So if you're on Instagram, why don't you leave me a comment in the chat area, see if it's coming through, because I'm viewing this through Restream, which connects my live stream to multiple different platforms. I've got my Facebook page, my Facebook personal page, and so all my friends can watch, and YouTube and X. And somebody's watching on X. That's a first. And then Instagram. And I'll probably try to connect TikTok at some point. Instagram was a little weird. I figured out what was going on. I tried streaming it last night. It wouldn't connect for whatever reason. Apparently you have to have it like open in the background. And before you go live on Restream, you have to go live in Instagram. And then go live on Restream. Which kind of defeats the purpose, because the whole point of Restream is so you don't have to go to all the different places and all that. So anyway, I assume TikTok is similar, where you probably have to open it up and have it open in the background. And anyway, all right, let's get started here. So we're going to start out by making sure, so I've got 2 layers here. I've got my top layer and my bottom layer. The top layer is my main layer, the one that I want. And then the bottom layer is just the one I'm going to pull my head from. So I'm just going to, let me just pull that. Ooh, make that full. Oh boy, I might have just messed up. Let me try to fix what I just did there. I have hotkeys set up, but I had the wrong window clicked. There we go. Now you guys can kind of see a little bit better of what we're doing. And by the way, if you have any questions along the way, please do not hesitate to ask them. I can see your chats over here, and I'll answer your questions along the way. You have the advantage of catching me live if you're here and you have a question that just must be answered. This is the time to ask. All right, now to get back over here. Okay. So I'm going to use my patch tool to select just a kind of a rough selection around my head. And I'm just going to copy that and paste it in here. And it pasted it somewhere weird. Who knows where it actually ended up. Photoshop does weird things. What? Okay. Photoshop does weird things when I'm going live. So you're going to have to work with me here. So let's see. Make sure I've got the right layer selected. And by the way, if somebody that's watching, I know there's 4 of you. I can see that there's 4 of you. Somebody go ahead and leave a comment just so I can make sure that the comment roll chat line thingy is working, because you guys might be leaving me chats and I just don't see it. All right, so the camera's on a tripod, and you know what? I'm skipping a bunch of stuff here. I shot this with my 200mm f1.8, wide open, by the way. Yes, it's a group shot, and I shot it wide open. Hey, Ashley. I saw you liked my comment about going live, so I fully expected you to be here. I shot with my Sony A7 IV, and your comment just changed. It said hi, and then it changed to hello with a, did you edit it? Technology. And yeah, a lot of people kind of freak out when I tell them that I shoot group shots with a 200mm f1.8 lens wide open. And yes, everybody's in focus. I'll zoom in here, show you guys. We're all here. We're all in focus. And how do I do that? Well, I have a whole, actually, YouTube video on that. So you don't even have to pay for the Academy to watch that video. That's like one of my most asked questions is, how do I keep everybody in focus in a group like this when I'm shooting with the type of lens I'm shooting completely wide open, which normally would be a super narrow depth of field. At least that's what people would think. Whereas what actually happens is with a 200 millimeter lens, and you've got a group, you've got to be way, way, way back there, like a mile away. And what happens is as you get farther away, the more wide your focus plane gets. So people don't really realize that the closer you focus, the more narrow that focus plane gets. So if I was like way closer to him, like if I just fully got us right in the frame, someone's going to be out of focus. So what I do is I make sure I'm far enough back, and I find somebody who is remotely in the middle. I try to make sure everybody is as close as possible. So there's a front row and there's a back row. All the kids are in the front, the adults are in the back. With the exception of, well, not really an exception, but let me switch over here. If you look in here, he and him, both boys, are about as close to the middle as you could get. The girls are a little more in front because they're right in front of us, whereas the boys are they're back just a hair, a fraction of an inch. So what I do is I make sure to focus on one of them. So you're in between. You're not focused on the front and you're not focused on the back. You're focused right in the middle. So that kind of ensures that as much of that area is in focus as possible. You just gotta, it's one of those things, the more you do it, the better, the easier it gets. A lot of people, when I'm doing group shots, they want to do something weird where there's a bunch of space between them, and so I have to make sure everybody is pancaked together as much as possible. And you can get a lot of people in a very small area there. You just fill them out, and then you smash them together. And you can have 3 rows. You can have up to 3 rows. Maybe the people in the front you have down on their knees, the people in the middle are standing up, and they're the shorter ones, and then the taller people in the back. I've had 18 to 20-ish people in a group shot and still shot wide open with my either 135 millimeter 1.8 or the 200 millimeter f 1.8, and still got everybody in focus. But also get in the habit of checking the back of the camera after you've taken the picture to make sure that everybody is in focus. All right, back to the photo. So what you want to do is, with my severed head there, set the opacity to like 50% so you can see both. And just get this kind of as close to where the other one is as possible. And of course I moved a little bit. I'm actually more or less looking at the shirt because the shirt is going to be matched up more than the head, because the head's going to completely cover the head and the back. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. And you could, let's go ahead and bring the opacity up once you get that set. You could, you know what? What else would you do here? You'll have to forgive me. It's when I try to talk and work at the same time, I'm going to start sort of kind of rambling, but I'll try to keep this as coherent as possible. I'm going to rotate a little bit to line up. You see the buttons here? I'm lining that up right there. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty close. Bring the opacity back up so you can see what's going on. We could use AI to get this pretty much perfect. In fact, I might show you how to do that. I'll show you 2 ways of how to do it. How to do it without AI and how to do it with AI. And I've never tried this before on a live, so this might be a complete disaster, but we'll do the normal version, the way I typically do it, which is I'll go ahead and put a layer mask on that layer. I'm just going to take my brush and we're just going to paint it. I'm going to make sure he's painted out. And make sure my gotta make sure the hardness or the opacity is 100% on my brush. Make sure it's a soft brush, and just start painting all the way around. And her arm kind of got out of whack, so we want to make sure to try to match my shoulder there, and as well as paint her arm out. And that looks perfect, but it might not be. Like, I see some weird artifacts here, and one way you can tell, just to be on the safe side, when you get on here and you're like, hey, everything looks perfect, go ahead and turn that layer on and off, and you might see right away, like I see a line here, I see some weird artifacts over there. Yeah, there's some weird things going on here yet, so we'll clean some things up here. Go ahead and come over here, clean that up a little bit. That's pretty good. Yeah, that is pretty good. I'd say that's darn near perfect. I'm seeing a little bit of a weirdness right here, although that just kind of looks like a fold in the fabric. But let's go ahead and paint it off anyway. And this is one of those things where probably no one would ever actually notice because we're zoomed way in. You zoom out like there, nobody's ever going to notice. You go ahead and toggle that on and off. That looks pretty good. So that is how I would normally face swap. And in fact, that's probably easier than using AI. The only reason I mention AI is because I had a situation where I was doing a family portrait and there was a certain young individual who was, you know, one of those numbers. So we got most everybody, kind of like this shot, most everybody, you always find your one image that's as close to perfect as you can get, and then you do some face swaps or whatever to make it perfect. And it's easier to do face swaps if the person has not moved very much. If you notice me, I just went from kind of looking down to lifting my head up, and even just that slight movement changed things quite a bit. If somebody's like looking over here, turns their head, or like moves a lot, that makes it pretty much impossible, especially when there's a bunch of people and there's arms around each other and things like that. There's a lot of limbs, and it's just a nightmare trying to swap things like that. So in that case, that's where AI can come in handy, because AI can fill things in that would be a nightmare to try to do manually like this. This will definitely work on dogs. Yeah, I do pets. In fact, I always like it when anytime somebody's like, is it okay if I bring my dog? I'm like, yes, bring your dog. That'd be amazing. I love mixing children and animals. In fact, the more that you can have that can distract the children from you and your camera, the better. Because if you try to if there's nothing for the child to focus on, they're going to be focusing on you, and a camera pointed at them with a complete stranger will freak them out. So I tend to try to, it's easier to get candid photos in those situations. I'll give the child something to do. I might find a branch or a leaf or something in the environment to let them play with, make a game of it, start chasing them around, but don't be creepy about it. Unless, women have a better advantage with photography than men, because women are just perceived as more friendly, I guess. Whereas I'm this scraggly woodsman, I've got to be a little more friendly. Kids generally like me, I would say. All right, let me think about this for a minute, because AI. All right, let's think about how we could do this with AI. So yes, Ashley, what I just showed you right there, that's 99% of how I do it. I've only actually used the AI once here recently, because like I said, I was in a situation where it was one of the only, just the thought of trying to fix that, I could have, but it just would have been hours of editing and recreating body parts to get everything to line up. So let's delete that layer mask and show you how I would do this with AI. Okay, let me think about this. No, I said no. Delete layer mask. Don't. You know what? It'd probably be helpful if you could see what I'm saying. Gotta make sure to swap my camera around. Ashley, are you watching from my personal profile or from your page? I'm just curious. I think probably from the personal profile. I'm trying to get all this live stuff figured out. It's a lot of moving parts. Okay, I've tried deleting this layer mask. There it goes. So I'll take my patch tool again, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and make a selection around the current selection. Ooh, you know what? I'm going to have to, this is where AI gets kind of tricky, because I am going to have to make a modification here. I'm going to go ahead and use a layer mask and paint his head out of the way, because I don't want it to recreate part of his head. That's a big no-no. You can't do that. It's not going to, I don't care how great AI is, it's not going to do a very good job at recreating a person's face. So I'll just paint that off, make that part easier. And we'll go back. Go ahead and grab my patch tool again. Do this again. Come up here, go around. All right, so notice I selected all the way around the current selection. And now I'm going to hold down, make sure I do this right. I think Alt to subtract we'll see if this works. Now go around on the inside. Let's see, like that. I just let's see. Am I doing this right? Okay, I think I'm doing that right. So the selection is this part right here. So my face isn't selected. His face isn't selected. Nobody's faces are selected. I've only selected the areas around where the jagged line is. And I'm going to let AI fill the rest in. So it should match up my shirt. It should fix this shoulder issue here. I hope you guys can hear me all right. I just realized I'm leaned way away from my microphone. Try to adjust this a little bit. So if I can find where my AI tool has even gone, there it is. I'll go ahead and, oh, where did it go? There it is. We'll see how this goes. Go ahead and hit generate. You know what? I'm going to see if I can drag this where you guys can see it. It keeps moving things around. When I go live, it likes to move things around. Doggone it, it disappeared on me again. There it is. Oh, you saw the countdown? Yeah. Instead of just going live, I notice a lot of people miss out, or they'll come in right towards the end. So I'm like, you know what? I'll give it a countdown. First it was 10 minutes. First it was 5 minutes, and I don't think that was enough. So I've seen a lot of people do that with the countdown timers, but it's usually like 2 hours or something. I guess that's if you have like thousands of followers, hundreds of thousands of followers. I've noticed I haven't been on Instagram. I don't do social media very well. I haven't been on Instagram in a while. I got on there to attach it to the stream, and I noticed I've lost like 1,000 followers. I had close to 6,000 followers at some point, and I noticed I'm down under 5,000. So I don't know what I did, but everyone's dropping off, or maybe what I didn't do. I'm disappeared. All right, let's hit generate. See what happens. This will be this might be a surprise for all of us. Hey, that's not bad. Although it made her shoulder look massive. So let's see. AI gives us 3 different options here to choose from. So we'll try that one. Ooh, I don't like that one. I did something really weird right here. I got that one. And that one kind of messed up the shoulder here. So you see, in this situation, it's going to be a lot easier to do it the way I did it at first, because AI is going to have some problems. But these problems are insignificant compared to having to manually, like if I was turned, look in the opposite direction, and then had to turn and look, facing, that would have been a whole different deal. But I mean, I'd have kind of a hard time letting that shoulder go. Let me just see what that actually looks like without. You see how massive that made her shoulder? Yeah, she wouldn't be happy with that. Natasha, if you're watching right now, I wouldn't do that to you. So we would want to fix that somehow. So you see how the AI can be problematic. AI is not perfect by any means, but it's a tool, just like anything else. And sometimes there's a right tool for a certain job, and there's a wrong tool for a certain job. And for this particular job, it's not great. But if it was a complete nightmare, then it would probably be the tool to go to. So how to fix that? Well, it would be a lot of, what we did earlier, which was now we have to go in here, and that's not that bad of an issue. But if we want to keep using AI and trying to fix it, you can come back in here and select the shoulder and hope that maybe the AI will think, hey, that looks a little weird. Let's fix it. So let's try that. And I've lost the AI again. Come on. Bring that back over here. And I just realized it's almost 7 o'clock, so I'm going to have to get off here. Hey, there we go. That's not too bad. That's a good way to wrap this up. So there we go. Not too bad. And I was going to finish editing this image but I've run out of time. I would obviously remove this post. I would actually remove this tree because I don't like there's two trees right here. So I'd remove that tree, I'd crop in and call it quits or call it done. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I'm gonna have to cut this short. Thank you all for joining. I will see you guys next time. If I can figure out how to turn this thing off. Absolutely. Appreciate you.